This is one of my favorite things that was released in 2023.
I have this like really natural aversion to anime, as you know, and as the audience probably is starting to get a taste of as well.
This is the last episode in our Scott Pilgrim Takes Off review series, episodes 8 and 9, 2 Scott, 2 Pilgrim, and the world versus Scott Pilgrim. So, Shaw, we are at the end of our journey here, and I just want kind of a overall, what did you think about this series on Netflix?
Dang. Okay, so I am so glad that you invited me to watch this and review it on this pod, because I would have made it to it eventually, but I have this like really natural aversion to anime, as you know, and as the audience probably is starting to get a taste of as well. I don't know what it is, but I just can't get into it like some people get into it. And I'm not shaming anybody. Like you like what you like, and that's great. But for me, it's always been a tough sell. And also, I'm a voice actor, so it's weird to not like anime because that's such a huge chunk of the voice acting world. And if you get in with that, like you're set, like you're golden, right? But I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I would argue, I'm going to say this right off the bat, I would argue this is the better Scott Pilgrim. This story is the better Scott Pilgrim story than the movie, and I wanted to talk to you about that. Yeah, but I think it's a better story, which is, but I think it only exists as a better story because of what came before. I don't think you can appreciate it without it, and it relies on that too in a way. So, but yeah, I loved it. What did you think?
Yes, I also loved it, and I may have said this. I've said this to so many people now. I can't even remember if I've said it on the podcast before. But this is one of my favorite things that was released in 2023. I want to say it's this and Across the Spider-Verse. Those are probably my favorite things that came out in 2023. And for all the reasons that you said, it is kind of like the best way to do an adaptation where you're giving it something new, something fresh, and you're not just rehashing. And I said that in the first episode that we talked about, where I was like, okay, this is good, but this kind of seems like the exact same thing as what I already saw in live action and in comic book form. So that's another thing where a lot of times it's just you're doing one adaptation. This is like 2 adaptations. It's like an adaptation of the comic and of the movie. And so I didn't want it to be exactly the same, and it wasn't. I got exactly what I wanted, and I'm so happy that they did this and that it came out all these years later. All the actors came back that were in the movie. So I'm happy now that this exists. Like I was telling you, Shaw, the comic is my favorite comic of all time. The movie is in my top 5 movies of all time. Now this anime, I don't know where this kind of lands on all my top 10 lists, but it's up there now as one of my favorite things. So I'm glad that first of all, that they put this out and that you were able to join me for this series. So let's get right into it. The first one was, and now, Shaw, we can say all the spoilers. I don't have to tiptoe around it. So the older Scott that shows up, old Scott Pilgrim is 37 years old.
I know. And I feel triggered by this.
I was laughing so hard at old Scott Pilgrim. And then to get Will Forte to do his voice, it was,
there was a moment where when he first appeared, I was like, that kind of sounds like Will Forte. I was like, it's got that trademark, like, charming lisp. Because I got to think about lisp.
Here we go. Let's get into this.
I got to think about lisp. I was like, most lisps I cannot stand. I'm like, cut it out, figure it out, go to a speech pathologist or something, figure it out, get it out of your system. No more lisp, cut it out. But Will Forte's lisp, for whatever reason, it's charming. and especially for older Scott, I was like, all right, this works. Can you think of anybody else you would have liked to have heard as older Scott?
The only thing I can think of, like, Will Forte is perfect, but if they could have done like an Arrested Development connection where they got Jason Bateman to be him, it's almost like he's playing his dad.
Yeah.
That is the only thing I can think of off the top of my head, unless they just got a unknown actor to come in and do Psycho Michael Cera almost like
it's funny you said Arrested Development, because I thought the same thing. I was like, there's got to be somebody in there. I was like, not Will Arnett, but is David Cross? Is that his name?
Yes.
Yeah, I was like,
as Tobias. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been great, just to have some type of Arrested Development connection, even though, it has nothing to do with Scott Pilgrim. It would have been nice for us Arrested Development fans to get that.
I just blew myself.
I just blew myself.
We need to do an Arrested Development podcast, Shaw. We need to do a rewatch of the first 3 seasons. I don't know about the other ones, but one of my favorite comedies of all time. But Will Forte, I've loved him since Saturday Night Live. He was one of my favorite cast members, and then everything that he's done after SNL, MacGruber and everything, he's just been fantastic. So I love his voice, and hearing him as old Scott just felt right to me. It felt like a perfect transition. Going into this future world and kind of figuring out where Scott was this whole time, was this a satisfying reveal for you as you were watching this? I'm curious.
Yeah, actually, you know what? This episode and the one that followed, the season finale, they both had enough in the way of reveals that even though it made sense for the story, some of it I didn't see coming. And I'm usually pretty good about predicting like plot points and like, okay, this is where it's going. It's going to go here.
Right.
Even by the end of it, like one of the last reveals, which I'll save it for the moment, but like I was like, I did not see this coming. Like, so the fact that it was older Scott who had abducted younger Scott, and the motivations behind that was pretty cool, because it earlier in the show there were some references to like having the movie or the documentary be about, young Neil's script and blah blah blah, and it was essentially Scott Pilgrim versus the world, and then we see that timeline has transpired and exists within this parallel dimension or whatever, and it's so cool. I mean, Multiverse is in. It's hot. It's lit, fam. So I mean, I dug it. I loved it.
Yeah, I was the same way. Like all the video game connections of future Scott, the VR chamber, and all of those things.
I love Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
Virtual. When I saw that thing pop up on the screen, I was like, are you kidding me? That took me back. Big time took me back. Because it's so funny, because that's the future.
Virtual Boy, a 3D game for a 3D world. Wanna play?
He's like, you guys have VR? And I had to remind myself, I'm like, okay, yes, the Scott Pilgrim of the present day takes place in the past. But I remember vividly, because I never owned a Virtual Boy. I don't know anybody who ever owned a Virtual Boy.
Mm-mm.
But you would go to the store, like Toys R Us or whatnot, or whatever was the big store at that time, probably Toys R Us, I think. And you would go in the aisles and they'd have one there that you could try out. And 9 times out of 10, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
It was always broken. But if it was working, you'd be able to get in there and see all like the red hexagons and stuff. Like it was all, and it just, at the time, you were like, wow, this is the future. Now you look back and you're like, that was awful.
Oh, yes. That gave me a headache. I was like you. I saw it in the store, and I was living on a military base at the time, and they just got one in the base exchange, and putting my head in there, and I was like, oh, man, it's giving me a headache already. But I was also like, I want to play this. I don't know anyone who has this, and here it is in the store. I can take a look. But once it just never got traction, and no games were coming out for it, it wasn't like super popular. I was like, oh yeah, that's a fad. That's not something that is gonna last. But I was a casual Virtual Boy fan from a distance, from afar. I also liked the old Wallace Wells. The old Wallace Wells was 39, and he had all gray hair.
Yes.
And that was another one that it's like your perception.
I'm getting there. I'm
your perception as a kid of what an old person is or what an old person feels like is completely different than once we are in this time frame now, Shaw, me and you. So it was obviously that was a play or that was a joke and that was a pun, but I really enjoyed that.
But it makes perfect sense for his character to have a sugar daddy, but also that essentially he did find somebody that he actually really liked. And he works for Nintendo. That's all his games for free.
Yeah.
Does he get every game for free?
Yes. He doesn't. That's not true.
It's true.
That was another great one.
One of my favorite lines in that episode was when Will Forte's older Scott is talking about, we got married in, was it Universal Studios or something like that? I can't remember. Right. And he goes, he's like, I met Optimus Prime. And he's like, Optimus effing Prime.
Optimus fucking Prime.
It wasn't getting married to Ramona. It wasn't, getting married in California. It was meeting Optimus Prime. I thought that was like really funny.
Yes.
Then it got dark. Then it got super dark. We got divorce, separation, and then we got probably the darkest thing of all, which was the music video of the song that older Scott writes with the twins, and it is awful. That was hard to get through. I was like, do I can fast forward through this? This is bad. I was like, Vactor's probably loving this. He loves the Anmataguchi. Music at the beginning.
Yes. That was fantastic. What'd you think about older Ramona as she came back through the time loop, the time portal?
I said, 2 Ramonas. Ooh. The plot thickens. I thought that was really, really cool. I did not expect to have, I guess it would have made sense in that future storyline that we'd see a future Ramona. But that was really, really cool to see her as well. The fact that she was the actual writer of the screenplay, I did not see that coming. When the reveal happened that it was older Scott, I just assumed, I was like, oh, so it's older Scott who went back and he's the one who wrote it because he experienced it. But when you see like what her reasoning was, like it's pretty cool. Really, really smart writing.
Yeah, I like that. I also liked this episode near the end gave us the closure between Scott and Knives that we never got in, I feel like, the comic or the movie.
True.
There's a specific scene where he's like, kind of, hey, I was a jerk. This is, not a great thing. And I really like that they included that in this version. And we talked about, Scott being an a-hole for one of our earliest episodes.
So the line kind of hit me and I felt a little triggered by it, I got to say, because one of my evil exes, so I started dating her when she was 18 and I was 23. So like, he's like, it's society frowns upon that type of a relationship. And they do. They do. I can vouch for that. It was something I had to constantly explain, and we dated for a couple years. But she was. I mean, like, what you find out is like they're young, and they don't know what they want, and they don't know who they are, and you're still kind of young and don't know who you are. But there's just enough of a gap that creates a divide, and that's why we didn't work out. But like. I'm really glad they included that in there. Like you said, it was a nice way to give Scott some shred of compassion and empathy and understanding and the dynamics to evolve to a better version of himself. So,
yeah. Did we talk about the real life? Like I said, I've talked to so many people about this. I can't remember if it was me and you. Bryan Lee O'Malley is the original creator, writer of the comic, and he's also the artist. He went through a divorce with his real life wife or ex-wife now, at the time after the movie came out. The whole time the comic was being released and promoted, the movie came out, him and his partner were just like always talking about it and promoting things. And it was like, oh, that's a happy couple. Then I didn't realize this because I hadn't really kept up with him after the movie. But then I looked up that he had gotten a divorce, like I think 1 or 2 years after the movie. I was like, whoa, they were together for quite a long time. So this kind of story, I think, of the future Scott and Ramona getting divorced.
Yeah.
I feel like he threw some personal
therapy.
stuff in there.
It's therapy, man.
So that was-
wow, that's interesting. That brings a lot. Yeah, so surely it was a process for him. It was a way to mentally work through what was going on internally. Wow.
That was, I mean, it made me feel bad. Like when I was watching it, I was like, man, I feel bad for Scott. And then finding that out later that the real life creator went through that. I don't think he's remarried or anything. I don't know what the deal is now, but I was very much seeing that real life parallel. And when he wrote the original Scott Pilgrim, it was really him, like his life of video games, anime, comic books, like all those things were his life and his lens that he was seeing things through. So it makes sense, that he kind of just drew upon his real life experiences and parallels for this one. But the very end of this episode, Shoff, we got a chance to see the red carpet of this Scott Pilgrim musical, and the very next episode where we actually got the musical itself. But it was a cool kind of tease at the end of all of the characters walking down the red carpet. And all right, the next episode is going to be the musical.
By the way, it just dawned on me that this is either, maybe it was too late last night, but the title, To Scott, To Pilgrim, I mean, I caught the reference to it being, obviously it's like a play on Too Fast, Too Furious. That much I grabbed at the time. But it didn't even register until literally just this moment. In fact, you could probably play it back and you'd see the moment where the lightning just like struck my brain. And I was like, oh, what? In slow motion. In slow motion, it was probably like this. No, two Scotts. There were literally two Scotts. I didn't catch that. Oh my gosh.
Excellent, Shoff. This is a great revelation for both the audience and for Shoff. I love that this happened just now. So that was To Scott, To Pilgrim. Did you have any other notes on that episode specifically?
I liked the orange progress bar saying that he was refreshed. I like that.
Scott Pilgrim is refreshed.
Yeah, I think I pretty much touched on. Yeah, no, that was it. Yeah, that was great. It was an awesome episode. Yeah.
Yes.
This whole season really,
there wasn't a week one.
Good. Yeah,
there was not a week episode.
Yeah, the installments, like everything was very well segmented. Like they really made a great story all the way through. Whereas some episodes of other shows, like they'll have hills and valleys, and
right.
But this was just consistent uphill, awesome type stuff.
Yeah, and it didn't feel like there was any filler, any like stretching out or two, we should have had 2 more episodes. Like 8 feels like the right amount for this storyline. But the last episode, the world versus Scott Pilgrim, kind of a play on Scott Pilgrim versus the world. And the main thing is the precious little musical that we get to see of Scott Pilgrim's life. And the bread makes you fat. That was the highlight for me.
Bread ain't all that. Bread makes you fat.
What did you think about the musical as a theater guy, Shoff, as a wonderful award-winning artist, Shoff? What did you think about this?
Well, it's funny because we really only got to see the audience's reaction to it.
Yes.
Not so much what was happening on stage. So it must have been brilliant because the audience was really into it. But what I saw, I do not think Matthew Patel has a future in Broadway. He's not the bad boy of Broadway. No, that's not happening.
Oh, man. Yes. I really loved the butter, like the decline from
Oh, yeah.
veganism into full on like gluttony of, all right, I'm just gonna eat a chicken wing or turkey leg as I'm walking, and just butter with a little one kernel of popcorn on top of it. The complete downfall
And then when
of the
Scott
diet.
finishes it, and Todd's like, "I'm gonna need another butter bucket or whatever." He's like, and he's like, "I mean popcorn."
Yeah.
Like, he even recognized it in himself.
Yes.
Oh, that was good stuff. I actually thought when Scott and Ramona couldn't kiss, there was that barrier.
Oh, yes.
I thought that since it wasn't any of the 7 evil exes, I was like, oh, well, who else showed up to this musical? Envy Adams. I was sure. I was like, they've never really gone deeper into that fallout.
Mm.
And they talked about in the 7th episode about how Scott's sort of his decline over the years in becoming future Scott was like 10 times worse than the fallout from the breakup with Envy. And I was like, oh, so maybe Envy is the one who's really like creating this barrier between. And so I was convinced it was her. I even wrote it down in my notes. I was like, oh, she's the evil ex. She's the one. She's going to be the reason. But it ended up being even older Scott, which I did not see coming. And I would bet that no one saw it coming, because you just don't. The narrative doesn't tell you that we're going to get another, an even additional version of Scott Pilgrim. Like, that's just wild. So
Yes.
that was fun.
And I love that he's like a full on Street Fighter Ryu version of Scott, and he got the full on white beard. He looks like Santa Claus, got all the white hair. And even older is 47, which I'm not at that age yet, but I got a couple more years up to 47, so still relatable to me. And seeing him be like the full on crazy Will Forte. Mental Health and Well-Being Unknown was the title card that we saw for him.
I hope I'm that ripped when I'm 47.
Oh yeah. Him going on a year of training. That was.
I guess I got to spend 10 years. Yeah,
10 years. That's what it was. Yeah,
something.
That was great. So just more great action, which this series, I don't know if we've talked about as much. I love the fight scenes in this as much as I love the comedy, as much as I love like the characters and the relationships between everybody. The action in here is fantastic, and I would put it up against any anime or any other fighting thing that we've seen before. And all this stuff was great choreography and great fights.
Very
so I loved
inventive.
it.
Very inventive stuff. Again, I don't watch a lot of anime, so I know that the fights are like epic, always epic. But this just felt new to me. Like, it felt like, even if for somebody watching anime, that this was something they hadn't seen before, is my guess. And I think that it was achieved just magically through the animation style. Like, they really, really did something very impressive. And it turned me around a little bit on anime. Maybe I'll give anime a little bit more of a shot. Yes. But I mean, some animes are really hard to get into because they're so dense and so deep in the lore, and like they're like 47 seasons and, you know, multiple.
That is, yeah.
And it's just like, it's hard to just like jump into something like that. But
actually, for our audience, you listening right now or watching this, if you have any anime recommendations for Shaw, something that is easy to get into, not 47 seasons, not 100 spinoffs, but something like Scott Pilgrim Takes Off that Shaw can watch, we will review it here. If I enjoy it, we will review it.
I'll give it a chance. I cannot guarantee I'm gonna like it.
Yeah.
Most
we want your
looks like babies fighting. I just don't get it.
We want your honest opinion, Shaw. That's all we want. So if you are listening out there and you have a recommendation, let us know, because we love getting recommendations here in the vactor-verse. So I think this series was a complete success, Shaw. It succeeded in everything that it set out to do, giving us an alternate path for this story instead of the same story that we've already seen in comic books. We've already seen it in the movie. We got a different variation on it, but also to me feels like a sequel as well. And an evolution of the writing of Brian Lee O'Malley. Like I said, what he's experienced in real life, getting to see, oh, what would I have done if I did this 10 years later? If I wrote this 10 years later, what changes would I make? And I love that. Just like with Invincible, like you and I have talked about Invincible, the animated series, what would Robert Kirkman have done differently? What would he have changed? I like being able to see creators do that because that's really not something we've seen a whole lot of. If you think about, like, as we were growing up, stuff just existed. And a lot of time artists don't get to go back and redo, unless you're George Lucas and you get to do 900 special editions. They don't get to go back and revisit their previous work and be like, oh, what would I have done differently? So that I like that. I like being able to get to give these artists some more time with their own creations. Shoff, do you think Scott and Ramona are they going to live happily ever after, or do you think they're on the path for divorce again? What is your personal? I'm just interested personally.
Good question. I think they're going to be okay. I think they're going to be okay because they have the benefit of understanding what is a potential eventuality. I think that represents, like, when you know how bad things could get, you know that you need to do things differently to avoid it. So I think that the benefit of having that insight is going to help them in their relationship.
Yes.
That's what we don't get normally. And that's why things sour. Like, you think things are great and then suddenly they're not. And you're like, oh man, I wish I could go back and I wish I could, have changed maybe my behaviors, done a little bit more, been a little bit kinder, listened more, like all those things, but don't get that second chance sometimes. So, like, this is their second chance to really do right. And if it doesn't work out, then it just wasn't meant to be.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever. I am with you. I agree with you, Shop, 100%. And I want to see them succeed, but you never know what the path leads to ahead. But having that hindsight or having that experience of knowing, hey, this is where it could go, you can kind of guide yourself a little bit better instead of the future being uncertain, completely. If you have that, oh, okay, we know this is a possible path. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, it might happen. Like, it will happen if you continue on that path. So I'm right there with you. I think they're gonna be okay. Shoff, the power of love.
That's right.
Is Scott Pilgrim's greatest weapon. I'd like to thank Shoff for joining me for this series. 100%, Shoff. It has been fantastic to talk with you and to see your Sex Bob shirt every single time. I love it, Shoff. Oh, there's more to it?
Oh,
I love
it's not just Sex Bob. No, it's Sex Bob.
I love seeing that, Shoff. And I love seeing when people give us super thanks here in the vactor-verse. Just a small way to donate back to our podcast so that we can make a better show for you. If you just go down in the like section, you can just give us a little super thanks or just a regular like, a comment. Let your friends share it. Let everybody know that we are here in the vactor-verse talking all things comic books and Star Wars. We're going to be trying to do some more comic book review episodes. Shoff and I have done in the past Attack the Stack episodes where we just kind of, hey, this is our pile, this is our comic list or stack, and we need to actually read some of these so we can get our stack down. So we're going to be doing some more of those in the future. We're also going to be talking about What If Season 2 that is coming out daily on Netflix. I was trying to keep up as each episode was coming out, but I think I'm 2 episodes behind now. It's like, man,
it might be 1 episode. It's epic, though. It's a really great season. Arguably better than the first. That's my initial take. Yeah.
A little sneak peek to what we're going to be talking about when we review the entire thing. We're not going to be doing daily ones. We're going to be doing the entire What If Season 2. So stay tuned here in the vactor-verse. If you want to check out any of our previous reviews here in the vactor-verse, you can, it's probably going to be somewhere up there. I don't know which direction it's going to be, but you can check out a playlist of the previous vactor-verse episodes. Shoff, do you have an epic conclusion to our Scott Pilgrim Takes Off series?
So This show has earned the power of our love. And if you watch it, I think it will earn your love too.